We request everyone to please kindly mute your microphones during the presentation, and towards the end of the program, you may unmute yourself and ask questions to Dr. Nithin, requesting everyone to kindly cooperate. To get things started, we now request Mr. S. Muthukumar, Chairman, IIF Southern Region, to welcome the gathering, please.
Yeah, thank you, Vignesh.
Sir.
Very good afternoon to all. On behalf of the Institute of Indian Foundrymen, Southern Region and Chennai Chapter, I welcome all the participants for today's technical webinar on matrix critical to success of the foundries. As everyone know, we are into a socio-economical slowdown, for which the Institute of Indian Foundrymen, Southern Region and Chennai Chapter takes a positive action in arranging webinar to face the challenge ahead. Now I welcome Mr. Saktivel Tirunavakarsu, Chairman, Chennai Chapter, to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Nithyanandan Devaraj.
Good evening, everyone. Saktivel from Chennai. I am so privileged to introduce Dr. Nithyanandan. First and foremost, my thanks to Doctor because he immediately agreed on my request. I insisted him on the management topics, and what we are going to deal today was an excellent subject. So let me introduce today's speaker to you. Dr. Nithyanandan Devaraj is CEO, MD of Voith currently, and he is a PhD in management science, MBA in finance and marketing. Of course, he is a gold medalist and a university topper. Basically, he is a mechanical engineer. He is also a certified lead auditor for ISO, Quality Management System, Environment Management System, and OSHAS. And also chairman for Sri Avinash Trust. He is honorary director for Foundry Development Foundation. Also current vice president of Coimbatore Management Association, past national secretary of IIF. He is having a 35 years of rich experience in engineering manufacturing. Worked in a very prestigious group such as and played a very leading role in bringing landmark changes in exports incentive classification of MSMEs, TPCB norms, waste disposal management, training and development of educated youth seeking employment opportunities. Is a management trustee of a family managed trust involved in activities like rendering food, shelter, education. A guest faculty for senior management institution as IIM Calicut. He is an examiner for a management qualification and assessor for management of teachers. So he's also a regular business column writer, winner of many outstanding awards. I have no time to list all of them. Other interest is article writing as a columnist. In home front, he is married to Dr. Gugapriya, currently a chairperson of Sri Avinash Hospital and Trust, and blessed with a daughter, Dr. Yashwantini MBBS. So this is Dr. Nithyanandan Devaraj to you all, and Doctor, it is now the court is open. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks, IIFSR Chairman Mr. Muthukumar and Mr. Shakti, IIF Chennai Chapter Chairman for having given this opportunity. Hope I'm audible.
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and Mr. Vignesh for all the arrangements to have done, Dinesh as well. Friends, good afternoon. It's always a happy homecoming, especially when I speak to IIF members and chapter friends. I mean, it's more informal than formal. There are few things which it's beyond my list to refuse, of which one is IIF. Whenever some requests come, it's simply yes. Likewise, for few people like Mr. Shakti and Mr. Muthukumar, wherein the mind does not go into the word no. It means no objection. No means no objection. Am I right, Muthu and Sakti?
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Anyway, sir, I with yes, we're able to trying to say something, Shati?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now, the topic, what I was chosen is, as Mr. Muthukumar rightly said, and Ms. Shakti also said, thought normally we spend a lot of time as Foundrymen on technical topics. It's nothing different what I'm going to speak today. I'm only trying to give a formal perspective for many of us who do things day in and day out. But I strongly believe an organization succeeds in the long run only when the kind of transparency required is there in the organization. The transition planning, or what we call as the succession management, happens seamlessly only when the transparency is set in. I'm not saying you should be 100% transparent. To a large extent, when we speak about metrics, people should be aware of not today what they have to do, but it's 3 years down the line what they are supposed to do. That is how growth happens. Unless people grow, organizations will also not grow, if I may permit me to say. So the topic what we have chosen after careful evaluation is metrics critical to succeed. I mean, today's discussion is specifically for Foundries. I'm sure many of you will be in businesses other than Foundries as well. So quite naturally, the same thing can be applied. Those metrics are specifically chosen for Foundries. It will depend on what business you are in, but the fundamentals remain same. Shall we proceed, Muthu and Shakti or Vignesh?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please. Yeah. The pace is all right. I mean, the expression level is quite clear, audio wise.
Yes, sir.
Everything perfect, sir.
Perfect.
Perfect. Right. Thank you. Thank you. We have heard many times this VUCA as a word again. So VUCA world, all of us know it's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. But if you look at what is happening in the last 3 years, the pace with which happens and the impact of these happenings is quite phenomenal. None of us predicted even in our dreams that such changes will have an impact on our day-to-day. Why only businesses, but in our lives as well. We have more disciplined ourselves. Every challenge given the human upbringing, all of us come out in trumps whenever we are put in a pond to swim across, even if we don't know swimming. That's what the VUCA world has taught us in the last 3 years. We thought, COVID is going to go. COVID, nobody knew what COVID was before it hit us. Then the COVID came, then COVID went. Still now, again, the third wave is happening in China. We do not know whether it will be limited to China. But nevertheless, today, I'm sure we are more prepared than what we were 3 years before for something called COVID. Today, it's COVID because the world has a cycle every 30 years. Some pandemic or the other normally has an impact. That's because of natural balance, what our Mother Nature tried to impose upon us because of our inordinate, thirst for economic glory, I would say. So unless otherwise we create an ecologically balanced world, economy cannot be seen in isolation. That's what probably COP17 is trying to bring into the countries first and then to the businesses next. All of us will be, whether we like it or not, we will be forced to follow the government commitments to the COP. The environment, world environment, whatever the commitments the respective governments are given, we will be forced to follow. So we will be prepared for it. So sooner we adopt greener technology, sooner we control our emissions, it will be great for not only the country, but it will be great for ourselves. So, volatility today, the kind of businesses what we are operating in, you all will agree with me. For example, the metal prices. Nobody today quotes for the next day. People quote today, we buy it, the quote stands. We ask for a quotation tomorrow, the quotation will be different. And if you ask for supplies tomorrow, the supplies rate may even be different, even if you have an open purchase order. This is not just happening in India or Tamil Nadu. It's common or southern region. It's common throughout the world. In fact, one of my customers, during this visit, is said somebody brought material to the gate and he started renegotiating the price. That's kind of volatility what we are seeing in the metallics, not only metals and alloys as well. And it is more to do with macroeconomic changes rather than what we will are within our control. So smart management normally identifies what is controllable and what is not controllable, and accordingly they act. So what is not controllable is a common factor to the industry. So they try to do there. We can only do influence. That is where probably associations like IIF helps influence the government to intervene and do something. I mean, I'm only mentioning because our mother association, IIF, there are other associations as well, which normally we can prevail upon to influence the government for any specific interventions required. But nevertheless, we have to learn to live with volatility. Next is uncertainty. Again, business is always crest and trough. Only thing we'll have to ensure the crest and troughs grows year on year, not at the flattened level. Then it really impacts. If it grows and we maintain at the trough level our the expectations or projections, we are safe that way. The challenge comes in managing the peak. Usually all of us would be exposed to circumstances where the customer always says your capacity is not enough, please invest. But the moment we invest, if the market goes otherwise, nobody comes to support us. So all of us try to intervene and say that, okay, we will be able to manage plus or minus 10%, but beyond which you need to support. But nobody agrees. I have not seen one customer trying to compensate for the capacity what we have created for his behalf. So there, we as businessmen, we have to learn how to say, no in a very polite way. Of course, we need to have reasons. Why do we say no? What is the logic behind saying no? Friends, I'm having seen the businesses in the last 30 years. I am of the strong opinion when we try to breed the market growth, naturally it hurts us at some point of time. What are we trying to do? We are trying to grab business from our own fellow players. But how long will we be able to do it? So we grow. I usually advise focus on the cost rather than expanding the market in case the market is not predictable or probably uncertainty is high. So as we move forward, we'll see the kind of metrics what we require to manage this volatility and uncertainty. The other things, the complex and ambiguous is the situation. It's more complex, the more challenges are. Of course, that's when we require leadership in a very complex and ambiguous world. Macroeconomic factors, the global factors, I've also given an indication of the impact of these factors on the kind of growth what it will have on the foundry industry. So European and GCC priorities, inciting investment in oil and gas, especially in NAFTA belt, refocus of traditional energy sources in developed economies, opportunity for growth, decarbonization priorities, opening up newer segments and opportunities, 1+ policy of major OEMs, opportunities drifting towards India. Many of you would have heard this. Though most of the world is impacted by Russian decision to challenge Ukraine, but there are some businesses where we have got a positive leverage, and one such business is people dealing with oil and gas. Even today's newspaper, you have seen that India is a kind of isolated country because of our local demand. The domestic demand itself will help us to sustain the growth rate what is envisaged. So given this true scenario, I'm sure the impact on the foundry industry will not be much, though we will definitely see ups and downs, and capacity utilization will always be, we need to be flexible. So the investment should be to that extent where we are able to manage the non-capacity utilized portion. I leave, though I hail from Coimbatore, I started living in Tirupur for the past 3 decades. The kind of philosophy what Tirupur businessmen adopt is not more than 40% of their sales requirement, they have their own investment. No, I mean, though we cannot draw parallel between the garment business and the foundry business, but at least we can definitely incline towards learning from those cross-industry practices. So the remaining 60%, they always outsource. They go for dedicated contractors, and the kind of quality, and this is accepted by the customers as well. The quality, cost, and delivery will be managed by their immediate supplier. The rest of the supply chain will be left to the immediate supplier with the blessings of the customers. Now, why not in foundry industry we attempt something like that? In fact, many of us, we do machining outsourced. But in case there is a foundry which the capacity utilization is beyond 30 or 40%, why not we adopt that foundry? We can think those lines as well as we move forward. That's one strategy to probably manage the uncertain environment. Decarbonization priorities, of course, as I said, the COP is going to stay. It is going to be more and more stricter in the coming years, and even customers may start insisting on what is your green strategy or what is your emission levels, what is your CO2 contribution. All those things, the question may arise. Today, we don't have those as part of the checklist, but sooner or later, probably the multinational customers at least will come back to us asking for those kind of commitments. So that is again going to cost. How do we manage that cost in the short run? And of course, the long run, definitely the benefits will be there. Depletion of the earth and resources will be prevented if we adopt a proper green strategy. 1+ policy is nothing but the kind of discomfort what people have in dealing with China. So all this put together, challenges is high inflation in developed economies. This is true, especially when people are catering to the overseas markets. There are too much of uncertainty in forex exchange in terms of consumption pattern. In fact, you might have heard Bezos going online saying that please postpone your purchases. That's something a person who is imbibed in the business, wherein the entire business thrives on consumption. He goes on saying that please defer your purchases, save money. That's something which we are not heard of, especially from an American, where the economic thrives only on consumption. So that's kind of situation what we are in. Obviously, when people are exporting, they will have their own challenges in managing those kind of uncertainties. Cartels inducing uncertainties in commodity prices. This is especially true when we are dealing with high cost alloys. And of course, day in and day out, we are doing with CR scrap, which is again subjected to this kind of cartels. No, I mean, when I say cartels, not just selling, sellers are forming cartels. Unfortunately, today, the scrap sales, which was hitherto was just a scrap sales, has become an important selling for all the OEMs. So when all our suppliers go and combine their purchases from single OEM, they assume that demand is so great, despite there is only a limited demand, and they start jacking up the prices. Many a times I've heard suppliers saying that we all buy from the same location, but unfortunately, people are quoting higher price. And I mean, believe me, there is no supplier who is selling at less than what the cost is. The entire challenge is passed on to the customer. China pricing defying logics. This we will have to leave with friends. Having studied China market in depth for 3 days, there is no principle in the way the Chinese price. So that challenge we have to definitely leave with, and we should develop our own strategies by being transparent with the customer as well. So all this put together, I expect the foundry industry to get at least 6.5 to 7.5% year-on-year growth for next 2 to 3 years at least. Macroeconomic factors in India, as I said, the Indian domestic demand itself is more than sufficient for us to sustain the growth. But though the profitability might come from the export market, but in terms of capacity utilization, I'm sure given the industry outlook of Indian foundries, we are not dependent on export for more than 15%. So the remaining 85% of our capacity is utilized only for the domestic demand, and the domestic market is, though there is a likelihood of shifting from what they buy and what they would buy in terms of enhancing the product performances. This is true, especially wherever the IC engines are used, irrespective of whether it is a car or a tractor or a truck or a off-road vehicle. It does not matter. But wherever the IC engines are used, weight to strength ratio is going to be definitely a deciding factor. And there are going to be changes in the designs, and we should be prepared for new alloy mixes also. But having said that, the demand is going to be robust, at least in the current decade. Whether we like it or not, India will definitely become the third largest economy in this very decade itself. So stable government continuing with business-friendly policies, core economy aligning more towards manufacturing, stabilizing GDP growth. Friends, please don't get it otherwise that I'm speaking on behalf of the current government. These are all very professional views, taken from interactions with various overseas customers and our own large MNC customers, and our own understanding of the kind of positive belief what they have in Indian governance right now. So global recognition as a significant manufacturing economy, affluent demographic shifts are keeping market buoyancy. This is precisely what is going to help the Indian business diaspora. Affluent demographic shifts. People are becoming more and more affluent. People are, there is a shift from lower income group to lower middle income group, then middle income group. So this cross sectorial shift will definitely help us to keep our industry buoyant. Increased government spending on infrastructural industries to sustain GDP growth helps also the foundry industry to grow. Over reliance on US dollars, inducing forex issues, widening BOP. Friends, somebody was mentioning other day, the government runs at 100 kilometers per hour. Unfortunately, the bureaucratic mechanism runs only at 10 kilometers per hour. Despite there is an agreement that we are going to pay in Indian rupees for the Russian imports, unfortunately, we are yet to implement that. For the last 6 months, we have been only talking, despite Prime Minister being involved. We are still working around a mechanism. So once that happens, probably the reliance on the USD will reduce, and the kind of volatility what we are seeing in the US dollar will also be less. Only one caution here, though many of us who export on dollar terms, we are very happy with the kind of dollar appreciation what we are seeing. But we'll have to understand 50% of what we buy is indirectly hooked to the dollars. So this has to be remembered. So whenever we pass on the benefit to the customer, we should consider this as well. Society becoming an inverted triangle affecting availability of technical human resources, inflating the cost of employment. There is no choice, especially for a foundry industry, friends. The more and more society becomes educated, the more and more society becomes affluent. Quite naturally, they will move away from industries like foundry industry. They will look at better EHS friendly industries. So this will impose a challenge on both retention and recruitment. So it will be an additional cost which we need to factor in the future. Financial situation of state electricity board, increasing energy costs. Again, this is something which is phenomenal that's happening in Tamil Nadu. I have never come across anywhere energy prices being hooked to the wholesale price index. We will not be prepared for these kind of challenges, and I do not know how we are going to convince the customer on these lines. But nevertheless, the impact is very significant, which we have to reckon with and properly live with also. Coimbatore economy preference of government to attract new age industries, hiking the cost, investment cost and cost of living. This is specifically true when the customers are trying to embark upon their journey from tier 1 cities to tier 2 and tier 2 to tier 3 cities. So it will naturally impose a challenge on industries who are based out of these cities, because the real estate cost is going to go up, the cost of living, the aspirations will be very different. So all this considering the positives and challenges, the Indian market is expected to grow at least 10% year on year. So this I keep saying, I think you might have heard me saying this earlier also. So I keep saying today you have to keep running to remain in the same place. Otherwise, what happens? Somebody running faster than you always knocks you off, then he runs. This is a very true situation. We can't expect better results if the process do not improve continuously. All of us as top management, many of you are today part of this seminar, should focus on improving the process daily, on day-to-day basis. It is our primary responsibilities. We should put ourselves in the shoes what others have to improve and understand whether we have learned something new today which can be improved tomorrow. This question we have to ask every day ourselves, and that's very important. Today it is no more leadership by position, it is all leadership by example. You have to demonstrate that you are a true leader, and that true leader comes out of your own interest in learning and demonstrating the learning capacity and capability. OPEX is manifold increases and not incremental. We are all used to 10% increase, 20% increase cross reduction, 10% improvement in productivity, 20% improvement. That is not real OPEX. OPEX, operational excellence, is somehow it's a completely off the line thinking, and then we are minimum 100% improvement is what will help us call operational excellence or moving towards operational excellence. Fundamental one, cost is a fact and profit is a desire. So which is under our control? The easy answer is cost is one which is under our control, whereas profit is a result of many factors. There is an entry strategy, there is an exit strategy. There are the 5 forces, POTUS 5 forces, which will have a definitely impact on the profit. Suppliers, customers, regulatory matters, competitors, all environment, all put together. They will have an impact on profit. Though they also have an impact on cost, but it is manageable. Cost is more of an internal factor, whereas profit is dependent mostly on the external factors. Fundamental 2, sales is more important than the product, profit is more important than sales, and cash flow is more important than profit. Friends, forever in businesses, cash is going to be the king and it will be the eternal king. The focus should, as much as we focus on sales, as much as we focus on profit, the more focus should be on cash flow. End of the day, whether we are earning 10 rupees, we are spending 9 rupees, that is what matters. If you spend 9 rupees, the earnings should be at least 10 rupees. If you spend 99 rupees, the cash flow should be at least 100 rupees. So this should be the motto with which we should work. At least daily, there should be some cash savings in our account. Third fundamental, traditional price is cost plus profit, whereas conventional profit is price minus cost. Growing organizations, price minus profit. Cost, they engineer the cost. Price is determined from the market and profit is the target given by the management. Then the operational people decide on what cost they should operate on.
Sorry? Sorry.
Somebody was trying to say something.
Well, I think they talked by mistake, doctor. You can go ahead.
Yeah. So cost. So I whenever I get an opportunity to operate and talk to my teams, I normally focus on the third, engineering the cost. We tell this is the profit we should earn, price is determined the market, this is what the customer gives, and we should engineer the cost to suit this equation. That's how we work. And many of the Foundrymen, at least a few I know in Coimbatore, they have started adopting the third practice. Anything and everything is measurable. Somebody tells me that something is not measurable. Even in life, I believe everything is measurable. Why not only in businesses? So it's more important, everything in business should be measurable. But now what, how much, when, where is a decision imperative. Why we all know? Why we do want to measure? We want, unless we measure, we do not know where we stand. Unless we know where we stand, we cannot improve. So quite naturally, it is a decision imperative. This is again the responsibility of the top management to bring in the culture of measurement. Why it has to be communicated first, then obviously what needs to be measured, how much, when, where. The operating team should be given the responsibility to identify these factors. But nevertheless, measurements are very critical. Friends, see, normally the technical discussion is going to commence now. We'll go to the organizational drivers. So the growth and profitability, we classify them as lead indicators and lag indicators. Whatever brings us growth and profitability is what we call as lead indicators or growth drivers. First and foremost is market spread, and second is the product spread. In the market spread, you have geographic spread, then industry spread and customer spread. And in the product spread, you have value chain integration, you have width, and you have depth. What we mean by value chain integration is both forward integration and backward integration and horizontal integration as well. In geography, you have something called as existing market and new market. The transient movement is what will help us to have a better spread. Of course, industry spread also some, whether to put all our eggs in single industry or to have a multiple industry exposure. Customer, of course, I normally say don't expose yourself to more than 15% to single customer. We all feel that this is a desire. Beyond 15%, we will not know who is managing the business. We manage our business or the customer is managing. Imagine a customer gives us 30% of his, we are reliant on a customer for more than 30% of our capacity. Now, who will have an influencing factor on our decisions? Whether we will have or the customer will have. So the threshold limit, in my opinion, is not more than 15% to exposure to a single customer. Similarly, industry-wise, don't have more than 40% exposure to a single industry. So they are all threshold limits, what I have understood over the period of years, and they are a must actually. Market share and business share, both are very vital. Market share could be as low as 1 or 2%, but business share helps us to understand what is our relationship, whether it is growing, whether it is sustaining. Both are very important. In terms of product split, value chain integration, I said backward integration, forward integration, and horizontal integration. As a philosophy, I believe in moving forward and moving horizontally, not moving backward. Moving backward is where you're trying to control the cost, whereas moving forward and moving horizontal, you are trying to control the value. Now you understand what is more important. In an era where everything is today can be outsourced, especially in gig economy, wherein you work according to, you pay according to the work rendered, why we should bother about moving backwards? Similarly, width and depth. It depends on the type of offerings what we give. Both are important. So both brings us knowledge, additional knowledge and existing knowledge. Again, the margin drivers. The next is, the growth drivers we have seen. Next is the margin drivers. On the left-hand side, you have product mix, volume mix, weight mix, alloy mix, and value addition. Then, of course, customer, market, and application. The most important factor is suitability, repeatability, scalability, variability, and variety. See, what you are seeing on the right hand side, the product mix, volume, weight, and alloy mix and value addition is mostly dependent on the customer and external factors, the customer, market, and application. Whereas suitability, repeatability, scalability, variability, and variety, it is our own definition. The question is whether we are able to define them, whether we are able to focus after defining them. These are very important factors as we move forward if we need to build a sustainable business. Friends, I'm not using the word successful because success has a very limited connotation. Success also has to be sustained. I strongly believe failure is never an end and success is not final. Having said that, we are only looking at a business model which will help us to sustain our success. So indirect costs are patent costs, disposable costs, and part and product costs. In case people are supplying the sub-assemblies. Now, all these things will again define the terms of engagement. Many of us, out of anxiety and enthusiasm, we normally don't read through the contracts. And by, as Indians, we always believe, what is Sarvaloka Sugino Bhavantu and Virundombal, because of Virundombal, we never want to be very assertive with our customers. We always sign on the dotted line, feeling that if you ask something, the customer may get hurt. But especially when dealing with MNCs, everything works on black and white paper, friends. Because there is no continuity of the people. I'm sure whoever is dealing with MNCs, they are dealing with the same buyer for more than 3 years. They should consider themselves lucky. The rate of change in MNCs of buyers is very high. We always have taken it possibly buyer moves from one organization to another organization, brings in new businesses. That apart, but engagement between the organizations is defined by the paper. So quite naturally, we have to be very careful about our terms of engagement. The cost drivers on the previous slide, we saw the margin drivers. In this slide, we are seeing the cost drivers. Consumption is definitely a cost pattern, raw material, consumables, waste generated, reuse, recycle, and saleable. Friends, not that I'm going to speak something about what we already do not know. I'm only trying to, as I said in the beginning, put it in a very formal structure where all this cost, irrespective of what value they are, it matters. 1,000 ton per month making company, 1 rupee saving is 1 crore per month, 1 crore per year direct contribution to the bottom line. 10 pies in every activity if we can save daily, that is what adds up to the 1 rupee, and the 1 rupee brings us more than 1 crore a year. That is what we are attempting to do in cost drivers. please identify the cost consumption at the point of consumption. Whatever I've given here is only indicative. There could be many more areas where probably you might be able to control the cost or manage the cost. Both are essential. Controlling the cost is essential. Managing the cost is more essential than controlling the cost. You control the cost and bring it down to a certain level. We should manage that so that it sustains. The efforts what we have put into bring it down sustains. Growth and profitability, again, the cost drive is purchase, price, volume, variety, variability, and frequency. Again, this depends on the terms of engagement. Many of us are kind of very loyal to our suppliers. Whether suppliers are loyal to the customers or not, we do not know as of now because of the volatility induced strains in the relationship. But nevertheless, we try to limit our exposure to few suppliers for want of a consistent quality of inputs. We believe if you continue to buy from the same supplier, the one variability at least we can control, the input variability. But nevertheless, what matters in terms of the engagement, it all depends on the price, depends on the volume, variety, variability, and frequency. Of course, I specifically not mentioned here the payment terms because it is a part of the engagement, which all of you are very familiar with. Payment terms also helps us, overcome certain deficiencies at least. Again, next is cost drivers. This stock, I'm sure all of us definitely will believe that stock is definitely a cost adding factor. We have one, I'm sure Mr. Muthukumar will agree with me, when we all visited together in a few Italian foundries. I was amazed with the way they are working. The morning the casting is cast and evening it goes out in a machined condition. Imagine the kind of inventory carrying cost what they will have. That's almost near zero actually. Almost near zero. Morning raw material comes in, it is cast as casting. Evening it goes outside as a machined component. So that's the kind of, and you can imagine you'll never be able to compete despite rupee being 80 euro. I mean, 80 euro being 80 rupees. Still, I feel we will never be able to compete with them if we continue to think that because Indian rupee is cheaper, we'll be able to manage them. It's not true. The supply chain efficiency, the internal and external efficiency. Whenever we talk about logistics, how many of us measure the internal movement of castings? How many of us measure how many people are involved in moving the castings from one location to the other location, from foundry to the dispatch, till it reaches the customer? It's certainly a cost today. It's certainly a cost today. And in my estimate, at least there is scope to reduce 30% of this cost, which I feel is non-variable cost, movement of material. The another factor is any material which is non-test for more than 1 hour, it adds to the cost. Can the material be continuously manufactured? That means zero waiting time in process. That's the kind of targets we should work at. And that's very important. That is how we can manage the cost. All of us know, many of us know how the Chinese work. There is nothing called overheads. They have cost, then they add margin and they sell. There is no interest cost, there is no overhead cost. Here, our overheads is as cost as high as about at least 15%. Hello, Vignesh, can you ask others to mute, please? Hello, Vignesh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please request others to mute, please.
Please go ahead, doctor. Sorry. Yeah.
Just
members requesting you to please switch off your video and switch off your mic, please. Sir, Mr. Somashekar, requesting you not to please switch on your mic, sir. Thank you.
Can we proceed, Mr. Vignesh?
Yes, doctor. Yes, doctor.
Yeah. So say my own estimate, the in-process waiting cost, what contributes to overhead is almost close to 30%. It occupies space. it occupies people time, and of course, there is an interest cost also to it. So we need to be very cautious about all this costs. Now, throughput time and process efficiency. Well, it's we are aware of it. I mean, is there anything which what we are talking about, we are not aware of it? Now, how do we measure them? All these points what I have highlighted is just indicative of the consumption point. The consumption could be in terms of material or in terms of time or in terms of efforts. All three are consumption, all three are cost elements, and all three have to be measured. Especially in this side, whenever we are talking about throughput time and process efficiency, everything matters. What is the productivity? What is the quality? What is the consumption, energy consumption, human resource consumption, machine time, oil consumption? Everything matters. Everything matters. And as many variables as we have and we can define as consumption factors, we'll be able to measure them. And once we start measuring them, we'll be able to control them as well. First important thing is we should define them as metrics, and having defined them as metrics, we should find out ways to measure them. Forget about the accuracy. Accuracy can be improved over a period of time. But the decision imperative here is decide to measure. That is very essential. Setup time, process time, non-test time, tools, jigs, fixtures, waiting time, handling time, in-process storage size, and distance travel. All these factors either consume our energy, or consume our time, or consume our human resources, or consume material, or consume space. Everything is a cost. Everything is a cost. And these have to be identified to the last penny. Only then we will be able to control them. Of course, this is a typical to our foundry industry. Casting weight, yield, machining elements, weight per box, and weight per heat. Again, this is a catch-22 situation what we have, because 90% of Indian foundries are jobbing foundries. We do not know what we are going to do tomorrow. Obviously, these decisions will be little challenging. That is where, if you remember the very first slide in terms of growth drivers and margin drivers, what I had put. The industry mix, customer mix, and market mix becomes very handy here. Friends, I have in the last 20 years in my direct involvement with Foundries, the tonnage has its own limitations, friends. I keep repeating it. I'm sure my friend Ms. Muthukumar will agree with me. I keep repeating it whenever I get an opportunity. There is a limitation when our focus shift to tonnage.
Correct, sir.
There are many occasions where probably running the foundry for one shift will help us to make more profits than running the foundries 24/7, 365 days. But are we willing to take that kind of a risk? That is where the clarity in our strategy, product strategy, and portfolio strategy helps. And this slide is specifically about that kind of a strategy. What kind of castings we are good in doing? What kind of castings our capacity is good in doing? Where we get the maximum utilization of capacity? Though the installed capacity is 1,000 tons, what kind of product mix will help us reach 1,000 tons and then exceed 1,000 tons? All these things matter, because that's where your real contribution comes from. Then, of course, when we talk about capacity utilization, you have manpower utilization, you have machine utilization, you have outsourcing. Now, many of us, we look at machine utilization, we look at outsourcing, subcontract utilization, and of course, we also look at cost per unit whenever there is an opportunity when we discuss about outsourcing. But do we have a continuous track on manpower utilization? We might say we have a track. We normally have a track on people directly involved in the production. What about the support staff? Friends, you believe me, we are competing with countries which do not have very multiple layers. There will be a general manager, there will be a production manager, then below which there will be only workman. That's the kind of countries we are competing with. Even in China, that is the organization structure. Nobody says there is a president, there is a vice president, there is a general manager, there is a deputy general manager, there is a senior manager, there is a manager, then senior engineer. Those kind of levels do not exist. Here, if you look at staff cost to labor cost, in fact, I will not be surprised in many foundries where staff cost is higher than that of the direct value adding labor cost. Because many of us have adopted automation today. But then there is, many None of us are have the courage to answer why do we need so many then supporting staff, facilitating people. When you looked at automation in the foundry, why have not we have not automated our business processes? So the manpower utilization, especially the overhead cost, becomes very, very important in terms of value add what they bring. Good companies, they look at economic value add per person. And this is a very important measure. It's a very, very important measure. Inspection time cost, rework rejection. I mean, this is pertinent, especially for our industry, and all of us are aware of it. So I will not spend much time on it. But the fact what I want to communicate here is, do we measure the inspection cost as part of the cost or as part of the overheads? As of now, we assume that these are all overheads. Friends, they are not overheads. They are all direct costs. They're all direct costs which needs to be measured, recorded, and then considered for improvement. That's very vital. Though we all know these are all the costs which we incur, they are not overheads, at least moving forward. This is a typical how why we need to target. You have the sales as 100 rupees, then you have less material cost. I've given a typical figure here, not necessarily it might vary depending upon the product mix and depending upon the value addition what a foundry does. But nevertheless, by and large, this is what a typical mix is. Then you have employee cost, then you have EB cost, then you have expenses like subcontract, repairs and maintenance, inspection and testing, then hiring charges. All those put together, then subtotal is 6, depreciation is 5. So most of the foundries, in my analysis, 80% of Indian foundries operate on 10 and 11. The average margin we try to make is between 6% to 7.5%. And in fact, if they are able to sustain that margin year on year, they should consider themselves lucky, given the vagaries of both input side and the output side, the consumption side and the supply side. The high volatility for all the reasons what we discussed in the first phase of our presentation. This is a consolidated side of what I have put here. On the left side, you have growth and profitability drivers. On the bottom side, you have the margin drivers. On the right side, you have the cost drivers. But two things which we did not discuss is the capability index and the capacity index. Both are important. If you remember the last couple of slides before what I said, how important capability index, that's where the decision comes from. In the first category, market spread, product spread, value chain integration, geography, industry, customers, market share, business share, product mix, weight, volume, all those things will define our capability index. Whereas on the right side, our capacity utilization will define our cost, both variable and fixed cost. Friends, there is nothing called fixed cost. Everything is today variable depending upon what the capacity utilization is. I'm sure you will agree with me. Now, how do we vary? The success of an organization depends on how much we are able to vary the so-called fixed cost in relation to sales. That's very vital and very important. Friends, I'm sure all of you will agree with me. The Murphy's Law holds good. Work expands according to the time and space, resulting in inefficiency. Many of us are very happy saying that we work 24/7, 365 days. But is it really required? How many of us measure our output in terms of the effort spent? So instead of saying that you produce so much in 8 hours, why not we say that you produce, this is the time you should take to produce this much? Do we use time as a measure of efficiency? Do we use time as a measure of cost? Do we use time as a metric? And it is time, we use time as a metric, because time is one factor which is very important to manage your revenues, to manage your cash flow, and nevertheless to manage your profit. Of course, here the challenge will be data, capturing, analyzing, interpreting, and then of course, accuracy and consistency. Again, I said today, there are a lot of tools which helps us to identify, how to capture the data. And first to identify, that's where our intervention as management helps. The most important decision what we have to make is what to measure, where to measure, when to measure, how and how much to measure. Once we make the decision, obviously there are tools will help us to capture this data, because analyze and interpret is a human intervention which we need to bring in. Accuracy and consistency, of course, will depend on what tools we use. Friends, as I said in the beginning, operational excellence is nothing but minimum 100% improvement. Cost reduction or productivity jump, both are essential. Our intervention can bring in only these two. 5S is fundamental to lean. Elimination of non-test time, people and material movement, idling of assets, unsold goods, unutilized assets. Introduce multi-mission operation. Focus on technology to reduce manpower and floor space requirement by at least more than 50%. Compartments are for convenience and efficiency, whereas connected organization is for effectiveness. Friends, this slide is nothing but a consolidation of whatever we've been discussing for the past 45 minutes. Each statement I have made here is very fundamental to drive organization towards growth and profitability. The growth and profitability comes out of two factors. One is because of market growth, because of our efficiency to deliver to the market as much as it is we are capable of. And then the second factor is how effectively we are able to control our costs. And each of these factors lines what I have mentioned here is one way to control or probably leverage our cost, leverage our capacity, leverage our capability, and then achieve the growth and profitability. I'm through. Thanks again to the Chennai team and IIF SR team, Mr. Vignesh and Dinesh for making this session possible and wonderful. Thanks for inviting me to be part of this elite group. I'm open to questions now. If you want to go back to the presentation also, we can always go back in particular slide. You want to ask questions, please feel free to tell me. Yeah.
Sir, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Can you able to please roll back that overall slide you put,
This is the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, this
yeah.
one. See, growth and profitability, as per your is margin drivers and cost drivers, right? Out of them, which
on the right hand side, okay? Growth and profitability comes out of market spread and product spread.
Okay, right. See, out of them, suppose say foundries are most inclined or most affected towards the cost drivers, right?
It is a catch-22 situation. It's a chicken and egg story. What comes first is the challenge what the management has to address.
Yeah.
See, you have in an organization strategic level, then you have tactical level, operational level, and executional level. This is the responsibility of the strategic level. Identifying the growth drivers.
See, my question is, see, customer market application, all those things, yes, it depends on the foundry to foundry, it will vary, right? But whereas the cost drivers.
Let me put it in perspective. Foundry to foundry does not vary. It varies from management to management.
Okay. Let us put it in that perspective. Okay.
Yeah.
So the cost drivers are a predominant. What as a foundry people we feel that cost drivers. So in your opinion, out of them, which is the most influencing factor?
See, if we go by the table what I have given here, obviously the focus normally goes to the materials.
Right.
So consumption quantity is what the consumption price you don't control. It controls by the external factors. Whereas the quantity is what the management focus should be on. When I say management, here we are talking about the execution level and the operational level. Somebody like, the real operator, the person who consumes the material, that's where the discipline is required. Second is the supervisory staff, operational level, what we call as. Those are the people should be very conscious about this cost, the consumption cost. The next if you come, it becomes a factor of tactical level. Managers, assistant managers, senior managers, they should focus more on employee utilization and the employee cost. EB, it is again between strategic and tactical level today. Given your options of where you can buy and what price you can buy. Again, if you come to the point number 8, it's again a strategic level aspect. Though the inspection, testing, higher charges and COP, cost of poor quality, will rest with the operational level. Subcontract repairs and maintenance, obviously the supply chain. Those decisions rest with the management, which I call a strategic and tactical level. Depreciation, again, it's a factor of strategic level. What kind of investment, what level of investment, what level of automation, and what are the risks one is willing to take. So the focus for different levels of management should be on different areas. If you ask me to give it a single answer, each line is important. You can save 10% of each, or at least 5% of each. It helps you to add to the profitability and improve the cash flows. I hope I have answered your question, Mr. Sati.
Yes, sir. Of course, sir. Right, sir. Rightly said. So all the each and every aspect of the cost part you have to take into account and work on that to improve the efficiency.
Yes.
Any further questions, gentlemen, for doctor?
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Somshekhar from Nitec Paracasting, Shumoga.
Yeah, Mr. Somshekhar, how are you, man?
Yeah, fine, sir. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you, man. Please tell me, sir.
Sir, I have one question. In the growth and profitability, the best foundry utilizing 80 to 85% capacity, what will be the benchmark for foundry, like jobbing foundry? What is the profit we can target?
Sir, I have always believed that it is better to keep at least 15% of the capacity free for newer developments.
Your developments.
Newer developments, because every 3 years, unless we bring in the new products inside, 30% of our production 4th year should be from out of the new products, because otherwise the indexing the cost becomes very challenging. If you continue to say, for example, if you continue to supply one product for the last 10 years, the compensation will be only based on the incremental cost increases, which is directly indexed to the raw material price index. Nobody is going to pay you for your employee cost increase, your investment cost increases. Nobody is going to pay. That will be paid only when you take at least 15% of new business every year. So 4th year, at least 30% of your capacity should be used for products which are less than 3-year-old in your specific business or in your specific foundry. That is when the other cost will get even out more than the cost driven by consumption. Have I answered your question, sir?
One more question is there. For a jobbing foundry like us, we make different variety of product. What will be the benchmark to achieve the profitability? For example, we are making 2 to 3%. What will be the benchmark in the Indian foundry level?
The EBITDA should be at least 12%, sir.
12%.
Yes, EBITDA, at EBITDA level.
Okay, EBITDA. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Sir, one more question is Mahesh Appa from Nitec only. What is the raw material percentage in the total consumption? This one that is.
In the
It
material
depends on what your selling price is, sir. So normally, you see, for a same component selling, somebody is selling at 100 rupees and he is supplying it as a value-added component, his raw material proportion will be different from somebody supplying only as a cast. And the end price is not the same. Obviously, the percentage will vary. But by and large, the consumption, the material cost, what we call as direct material cost, both raw materials and consumables put together, it will hover around 65 to 68%. Only then you will be able to make some margin what we are talking about.
Thank you, sir.
okay, thank you.
Sir, one gentleman has raised his hand. You may introduce yourself and ask the question, sir.
I am Saurabh from Nagpur. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm very good, sir. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm fine, sir. I
Thanks
just
for
had a
being
question.
there.
Yeah. I had a question regarding we are a foundry with the pipe fitting. We manufacture pipe fittings. So how do
Okay.
we derive the proportion of labor component or the labor costs in our processes? Because it is not comparable to other foundries as we see.
Sir, See, you're kind of in a product business. The very strategy that has to be adopted for product business is very different from the conventional way of operating a foundry. The product business, you should start working backwards. What is the brand equity what you have in the market, and what is the premium you can get for the brand equity? Then you start working on the cost drivers. That is what the growth and margin drivers what we talk about. For a standard product, if the market is able to recognize the worth of the product and they are able to pay you a better margin, then all the backward working becomes simpler. But to arrive at your labor cost component to the measure itself has to be defined. Whether you measure the labor cost per pipe what you deliver, or per size of pipe what you deliver, or per kg of pipe what you have to deliver. So in simplistic terms, if you want to have one-to-one benchmark, usually it is better to convert that into per kg of the output what you are supplying as pipe fittings. So that's a figure what I have indicated here that will definitely fall in place. That the employee cost, total employee cost of 12%, and for an industry like yours, it should be as less as 8% if you are on a standard product basis.
Okay, but is it only for the foundry or the whole industry? Because we have non-foundry operations like cement lining on the fittings and the machining also.
So I'm talking it as you're as a product company, sir. I'm taking it as a product company. Of course, your front end supply chain. For example, you have too many people in the marketing, too much of sales force in the marketing. That should be taken as sales overhead. So what normally we do is there will be a transfer pricing from that of factory to that of sales. So at factory price level is what we are talking about. 8% is an agreeable price for an industry like yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any further questions, gentlemen? You may please unmute your mic and introduce yourself and ask the question.
Sir, good evening, sir. This is Kumar from SAC Engine Components, Gummidi Punti. It is a very good presentation, sir. And I recall the Deming quote that is, "In God I trust. All others bring data." So you are demanding all the measurement data. It is a very good insight to the presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, is there any couple of important measures like a metric OEE and other metric which can give daily managing and checking point?
Sir, I normally don't get into the TQM and TPM part, sir. That is, it is not even 5% of the foundries will be able to understand or utilize it again. But by and large, for a foundry industry, as I keep saying, this is my vital area which we should measure. And each one of this is important. As I said, the levels with which people should involve is different. Here, I repeat what I told Mr. Shakti. The point number 2 is under the control of execution level and some portion of the operational level. Point number 4, it's strategic level, tactical level, and operational level. Point number 6, today, though execution level and operational level controls at the point of consumption, there is strategic element and tactical element also to the line number 6. Now, line number 8 is 100% tactical and strategy. What is the level of inspection what you want to have? What is the level of testing you want to have? How much outsourcing you want to do? What is the kind of technology you want to adopt, like repairs and maintenance? How to limit your exposure? Point number 10, again, is a strategic level and tactical level decision. So each one of us to split our responsibility and start measuring the cost. It is, though overall looking at the kind of question what you are asking, what is the few important measures? No, I am splitting the responsibility across the levels. So each level should focus on the areas where they should control the cost and take few elements where day in and day out the measure, and at least over months they should be able to bring some reduction. You understand why I'm trying to emphasize the organization-wide cost reduction. Otherwise, it just becomes a push, which will not work beyond certain level. That's why I said in the beginning, today it is leadership by example. You have to demonstrate your cost focused. Not just measuring cost, but your cost focus. You are contributing towards cost reduction. That's very important. That's very, very important.
Was that
Mr. Kumar, sorry. Am I right? I'm not sure whether he has heard me or not.
Yeah.
That was certainly something to hear me. Mr. Kumar?
Sir, he's calling me on the phone. I think there is some issue. Sir, other people can please ask your question, sir.
I have
Sir,
here
it seems
today my
it's-
colleague also, Mr. Dr. Sathiraj, who is our management representative. You all can say hello to him as well. I want to show your face. You want to show it. This is my colleague, Dr. Sathiraj, who is our management representative. Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Dr. Devaraj. This is Anuja Sharma. And
Hi, ma'am.
congratulations
How are you? Good evening.
good evening. I'm absolutely fine. And so thank you for a nice presentation. So, and yeah, I'm listening to your right from the beginning. So nice to hear. I don't have a foundry, so my question won't be on foundry. It's a general question. Can you tell me the status of Indian foundry in global market? What is the stand today?
We still have a lot of catching up to do, which itself is considered as an opportunity. When your neighbor is sitting at 45 million tons per annum and we are sitting at 12 million tons per annum, you can imagine where we should be. The first challenge will be to prevent imports from coming from our neighbor. That's the first challenge what we need to encounter. 10 years down the line, by the end of the decade, we expect to cross 20 million tons per annum with the natural domestic growth itself. Let's say if you remember the first two slides I made, the growth drivers, 10% year-on-year increase will definitely take us to beyond 20 million tons per annum in this decade itself.
Okay.
Yes, profitability will continue to be challenged. As we become more aggressive in taking orders, we should be very cautious about what the kind of prices what we offer to the customers and the kind of capacity what we engage with the specific customer and specific industry. Those challenges will be there.
Okay. Thank you so much.
And most success will depend on foundries which have the capability to invest from their own funds rather than borrowed funds. Because interest is going to be expensive, and interest factor will be the one single most factor which differentiates the profitability amongst foundries.
Okay. One more question, like for any industry for profit making, what should be the sales and marketing percentage?
Not more than 2%.
Not more than 2%.
Yeah,
okay.
Sales over it's what we call it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No, I mean, I'm excluding the distributor commission and sales commission. I'm only talking about the cost of goods sold. Yeah.
Okay. If we include that, then
it depends on the market. There are many other factors. There are external factors. What is under our control is only COGS, cost of goods sold. The price with which it is sold depends on many other factors. Your competition. That's why I said that the port is 5 force. Your regulatory frameworks, your customers, your competitors, your supply chain, everything matters.
Okay. Thank you so much.
So today in the e-commerce era, you don't have to even have a secondary sales partner. As long as you have a very good relationship with your customer, you can pass on that additional amount as discount to the customer, wherein you can get the volume growth.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Thank you for your nice presentation.
Thank you so much.
Sir, I'm back. This is Kumar, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I got the answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks. The challenge is having this multiple names, Vignesh. I don't know how many of you know me as Nithyanandan. Most of the Foundry faculty knows me as Nithan.
Yes, sir.
There's somebody on the spotlight. I don't know who it is.
Yeah, I think that is Mr. Padmanabhan.
Okay.
Sir,
something?
Sir, you want to ask some questions, sir? You're on mute, sir.
Presentation, sir. Presentation, very nice. Shall I take it like this way? Everything to be measured in an organization. Each and everything to be measured. Anything measurable is manageable. Is only manageable. Shall I take it like this way, sir?
Yes, you are absolutely right, sir. Each one of us should own the measurements and take responsibility for measurements as well, sir. You're absolutely right, sir.
Each and every parameter to be measured.
Yes, exactly. The levels of measurements and it will differ. It will differ from executional level to the strategic level. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Any further questions, gentlemen, or we can?
Any other comments from other members in there? Ms.
Sir,
Muthukumar or
nice
Shakti?
presentation, Nithyananda sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks so much.
Nitin sir,
Thank you
as
so
usual, best,
Thank you so
the
much.
best one to be heard, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for the nice words. Yeah. Yeah.
Sir, we are looking forward to support in future.
Sorry, sir.
Dr.
Sir,
Sir,
this
very
is
nice presentation. Thank you so much.
Welcome,
Sir.
sir. Most welcome, sir. Thank you. Muthukumar, sir, you were trying to say something?
Sir, yeah, this is Shaktivel, sir. Looking
Yes, sir.
forward
Yes,
this kind of program in future also.
I'm available, sir. As I said in the beginning, never no to IIF and never no to few people in IIF as well. No means there's no objection.
So,
Nitin sir, Anand here. As usual, it's
Yes,
excellent presentation, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Anand. Thanks for the nice words. It keeps us motivating as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, gentlemen, we have indeed had a very interesting topic today. Metrics critical to success of Foundries. We are sure the contents of the presentation had a lot of takeaways for our audience. We would like to thank Dr. Nithyanandan Devaraj, Chief Operating Officer at Voith Group, for taking time off his busy schedule and making us rich with knowledge. Further, we would like to thank all the members who joined us for the talk. We were very pleasured by seeing that a lot of members had joined from various parts of the country. So this presentation has reached a lot of people, and we are extremely thankful to all the members who joined us on time. I'm sure you had a wonderful learning experience. We from the southern region as well as Chennai chapter will be conducting many such interesting programs. We'll be sharing the information with you soon. Looking forward to all of you attending the programs in the upcoming time. Thank you, Doctor. It was a fantastic presentation, Doctor.
Most welcome. Wish you all the best. My prayers are to the Almighty to wish you all with a wonderful future and great growth. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks once again to all the members who joined. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vignesh. Thank you, Muthukumar
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.